What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is me, Dello the Casual Card Gamer, and today we are looking at one deck that I was really excited for coming out from D-BT. I don't know if I worded that right. One deck that I was really excited for from D-BT02, which has sadly just perplexed me on a deck building level, because when I make these deck profiles, I try to be as comfortable to my playstyle as possible, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and I feel like this is one of those times where it just doesn't work. But we're going to be looking at Peanut Butter Dragon, Phantom Blaster Dragon, and what I have been able to sort of cook up for myself, and what I'll be testing later today on stream. So make sure that you check that out. Make sure you stay tuned and subscribe and do all that good stuff so that you know when it is happening. But let's get straight into the deck profile. Full balance ability, of course, is just if you go second, draw a card. Blaster Diavlen's first ability is when he is rode upon by Blaster Derp, you can check the top card of your deck and call it as rest if it is a unit, or discard it if it is not. Then its second ability is if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its name, it gets plus 2k, which is nice. It is one reason why I don't run Vachel in this deck, which I probably would be I probably would be if it wasn't for Javelin. But next we have Blaster Dark, whose ability is when rode or when called, you can counterblast one to retire another rear guard. Then he gets +1 drive check, and you also retire one of your opponent's rear guards as well. So that's really nice. Going first, he does let you twin drive a lot earlier, one whole turn earlier, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. And his second ability is during your turn, if a rear guard is retired, he gets +5. So he's a 15k beater if you activate most of the deck's effects, actually. So we'll get into what the rest of those cards are, but that is Blaster Dark. And now we have the dragon of the day. We have Phantom Blaster Dragon. Its first ability is when he is ridden, you can choose one blaster from your soul and call it to a rear guard circle. And its second ability is act once per turn, counterblast one, retire 3 rear guards, choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them, and it gets +10k and 1 crit. So this is the power punch of the deck. I am having a bit of trouble trying to figure out how to really manage. I haven't played Shadow Paladins in a very long time, but yeah, it's a very BT1-esque, or let's see, when they first come out, BT4-esque card. And yeah, that is it for our ride deck. So let's get straight into the main deck, shall we? We have 3 copies of Phantom Blaster Dragon. We already went over his abilities, so we don't need to go over it again. And we have only two copies, because I don't want to dismantle my my Hexa Orb deck to make this one. We have 2 Fasados. His first ability is cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects, and second, when he hits, you countercharge and soul charge 1. Really good, just generic slappy support. Next, to our grade 2s, we run 3 copies of Darkness Maiden Maka, 3 copies of Sterilized Angel, 2 copies of Gold Gown, and 1 more copy of Blastadupe. So we run 3 matchas instead of 4, because she does take away from the field, and you're already doing a lot of that with PBD, so I'm trying to not do that as much. with the rear guards. But Macha's ability is when placed on rear, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its name, you can GS +5. And then you can Soul Blast one, retire one of your other rear guards, check the top 5 cards of your deck, search for one card among them, call them to rear guard, and then shuffle the rest of the cards back into your deck, which is nice. So it has to be a grade 1 or less unit that she calls. So you can't just have fun with that. Then of course we have our other copy of Blaster Dark, just for an extra 15k beater. Then we also run 3 copies of Sterilized Angel, just because she is a costless, resourceless 15k attacker. Early game, you're already guaranteed 1 counterblast with Blaster Dark, and there are other counterblasts in the deck that can get you to use up all of those counterblasts right away. And of course, if you do have counterblast open and there's no way for you to close all of it out, you can always just retire her with PBD skills. So that's why I run 3 copies of that, and then 2 gold gowns for the early game, just to get a little extra oomph out of the grade 1s that you can call. You can call Brunners, and it'll be a 10k booster. You could call Karens, which would be a 12k booster. You aren't hitting super magic numbers, but if you're doing this grade 2 turn, then your opponent's either grade 1 or grade 2, and as long as you're hitting over 20, you're doing good things. Next, move on to the grade 1s. We have our 4 PGs, of course. Then 4 copies of Witch of Pandering Brunner. Her ability is if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its name, if she were to be retired as part of an ability, then she would count as 2 units instead of just 1, which really does help with the deck because unlike a lot of Shadow Paladin cards or deck builds in more recent times, you don't get that same level of field spam, and yeah, she's really good at just mitigating the lack of being able to throw things onto the field. But there's 4 copies of her and 3 more copies of Blaster Javelin, because I like 10k boosters because it makes things a little bit harder to guard. Next, we run 3 copies of Black Sage Karen. So when Karen is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its name, you can rest it, reveal the top card of your deck, call it if it is a unit, and retire it at the end of the turn. Most of the time you want to just hold. I kind of just hold these unless I have a Maka on the field. I have a Maka in my hand that I can use, or to get rid of the unit that Karen calls, or on a PBD turn, of course. But sadly, the numbers for PBD are so weird because you have a 7k, you have a 5k grade 1, but that's what made this part of the deck building process a little bit difficult for me. But anyway, that's it for those. And the last 2 grade 1s that we play is Tier Square Sorceress. Now this looks kind of weird and out of place, but it does help with emptying my opponent's field a lot faster per turn. It does cost me basically 2 counterblasts per turn, but that's okay. But we use Tier Square Sorceress for its on trigger ability. If you drive check a trigger, then you can bottom deck one of your opponent's rear guards, and considering you already retired 2 at maximum with PBD, that's 3 cards off their field that they have to replenish later on, unless they want to just swing them with their Vanguard at you, or if they have a lot of resources to just say whatever and do it again. So that is it for the grade 1s. And last but not least, our triggers. So of course we run the Amartanoa, lets you drive check with your rear guards, which is really nice if you have the extra Blaster Dark on the field. We run 4 crits, 4 draws, 3 fronts, and 4 heals. Now the reason why I run 4 draws and only 4 draws and 3 fronts is because there is a very apparent lack of draw power in the deck. Because Phantom Blaster Dragon requires that you retire things every time that you want to activate his ability. That's pretty much his signature. But other than that, there's nothing else that really does give you hand resources in the deck. You can argue that Karen is, you know, just call it and then you can call something from the top deck, but none of that stuff goes to your hand to guard with. So the draw triggers are there to at least give a little more assurance in terms of being able to have more than 2 cards in your hand at the end of your PvP turn. So yeah, and then 4 crits, of course, and 3 of the new fronts. Gotta have those fronts in there because 20k shield is really good, even if you only have 2 rows, 2 columns on your field. The extra 5k does help a lot. So that is it. I'm actually experimenting. Maybe I might go 7-5, or I might keep it this way, but fronts are really fun. So that is it for this deck profile, everybody. I hope that you liked it because I had a headache making it. I did not expect to have this much of a headache playing it. I've just been doing shadow playing with this deck for the past 45 minutes to an hour, and it has just been frustrating to say the least. But anyway, I will be playing this on stream later today, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. Make sure you tell your friends, and again, please like and subscribe, leave your comments and suggestions for future and current content down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. I am Jello, the Casual Card Gamer. Take care.